Welcome to Beyond the Game More Stories, the podcast where we explore the lessons sports teach us about life, leadership, adversity, and growth long after the final whistle blows. I'm your host, Dwayne Lightfoot Jr. On this show, we sit down with athletes, parents, coaches, leaders, and just overall real people just to have real conversations about the moment that shape us, the challenges, the victories, the setbacks, the big ones, the small ones, and the experiences that stay with us long after the scoreboard goes dark. All right, well, let's jump into today's episode of Beyond the Game More Stories. Today's guest operates in one of the fastest changing spaces in all of sports. Just a few years ago, conversations around college athletes centered around recruiting, scholarships, and development. Today, athletes must also navigate branding, endorsements, international opportunities, professional contracts, and the never evolving world of NIL, name, image, and likeness. Our guest works at the intersection of all of it. As a director of NIL and international operations for a licensed NBA, FIBA, and NIL sports agency, he helps athletes navigate opportunities both on and off the field and the court. From college players building their personal brands to professionals pursuing careers around the world, he has a front row seat to business side of basketball and the life-changing decisions athletes face every day. His role goes far beyond contracts and negotiations. It's about helping athletes understand their value, making informed decisions, building meaningful relationships, and creating opportunities that extend beyond their playing careers. In a landscape where one decision can impact a player's future, he serves as a guide, an advocate, a trusted resource, and other options for athletes and their families. This conversation dives into the realities of NIL and the opportunities and challenges facing today's athletes, what professional basketball looks like beyond the NBA, and the lessons young players need to learn if they want to maximize both their athletic and personal potential. Because talent may open doors, but knowledge, preparation, and characters often determine what happens next. So, whether you're a player, parent, coach, or someone trying to understand the future of sports, this conversation is filled with insight and perspective. So, please welcome Director of NIL and International Operations of Easy Sports Group, Ethan Coury, to the podcast. Good afternoon, Ethan. How you doing today? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me on. How are you doing?
Ah, man, I am doing well. I'm doing well. Just trying to, continue to grow this thing, build this thing, and just kind of learn what everything that's going on in this crazy world that we call sports, man. It's been fun to see it as a player, but now I get to see it on the whole other side. I see it from the fan side. I'm seeing it from the parent side, and but doing this podcast allows me to sit down with people like you that are literally living this day every single day, and so I'm able to just kind of pick your brain for a little while. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on here.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
All righty. So as we kind of look into it, the way my podcast works, again, it's not just about the player, the athlete, or the coach, or the representative. I like to kind of look more at the person. So the first thing I always start with is at the very beginning. I know you got a sports background. You know, you played high school athletics. Played all your life growing up. But kind of tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me something that somebody who might not know you outside of your social media following or the introduction that I just read. What's something about what it took to get you where you're at today?
Yeah, I would say something took that got me to where I am now really has to do with relationship piece. I think that's something that is spoken a lot about throughout this industry. And on the relationship side, the hours that go into not only building that with certain people, but nurturing and developing that and continuing to stay on somebody when your mind is set on having something as a potential career. uh
Yeah, like I said, it's part of that. You're in it's a numbers game. It's literally every opportunity that you have to be able to seize and take it. And you can't be somebody who know effects. Sometimes you're going to hear no a lot, but that no just means that you're just one step closer to hearing the word yes. So like you said, staying on top of people, building those relationships, especially nowadays as they continue to restructure and make all these changes with everything. It is a relationship game. It's a lot about who you know. I tell a lot of the kids I work with, your social media is great. You got all these highlights that you're putting on, but you literally have nobody in your following list that is a high school coach or is a college coach or a recruiter or anybody like that. So you can have all these great highlights all you want, but it's never going to get seen if you don't have that relationship or somebody who can put you in front of, somebody that can make that decision for you. Yeah, totally agree with you.
No doubt.
Yep. So, all right. So, again, I'm considerably older than you. I would say I'm probably almost 20 years older than you. So, kind of like I said, the industry you're in is the NIL industry. A lot of people who may not be familiar with that is the name, image, and likeness. This is something that allows collegiate and even some high school athletes to earn financial gain from the use of their personal name, their image, or just likenesses of them. And I always kind of go back to when I played, we didn't have this. I would have loved to have had it. I don't want the transfer portal in my generation, but I would have loved to have the NIL. But I always tell, my personal NIL story. So I was actually a part of the very original NIL lawsuit, not because I knew the players Ed O'Bannon and all of them, but just because I was in college around that time that they were suing for. So back when I played, we had the NCAA video game was out, and I was in 4 video games, right? So those very very popular, right up there with the 2Ks and everything, and the NBA lives and the NBA jams back in the early 2000s. And after I graduated, I got a phone call from a lawyer. Phone call again. This 2004, 2005. Calling long distance is still crazy expensive, but I get a call from a lawyer, and he leaves a message, and he says, "Hey, my name is so and so. I'm with such law firm. You were a part of the lawsuit with the NCAA. We have a settlement from the NCAA, and we have a check waiting for you. We just need you to call and." Get your information to verify you are who you are so that we can send out your check. Again, I'm a kid fresh out of college, and I hear that the NCAA has settled and they made this big lawsuit. So I'm back living at home with my parents, and I just get this phone call, and I'm thinking I'm about to get broke off, right? So I hurry up. I call this guy back in California, and he's like, "Hey," he has me verify all my information, and can you guess how much my check was?
I'm gonna guess either something extremely high or extremely low. And just from that lawsuit in that case at the time, I would have to guess probably on the lower end of what you would expect.
Yeah, $74.
Oh, I was gonna say 700. I promise you that was my guess.
$74. I'm in 4 video
Man,
games, and that was all that I was worth. So seeing what these athletes and everything are getting now is just crazy. And and I always I'm always going to side with the side of the athlete because I feel as though they are the money makers and they deserve it. They are bringing that money into their institution, and they deserve to be rewarded for it because the institution is rewarded for it. So again, like I said, just the way this is going, it's amazing to see. But so before we jump into that, like I said, I just wanted to give the audience just kind of the background of what exactly NIL is. But can you take me through just kind of how your journey into this led you into the world of NIL?
yeah, so I really got introduced to the sports agency field from my involvement in a local nonprofit called the Delta Foundation. Delta stands for Developing Educated Leaders Through Athletics. I had been involved going on a year and a half at that point when one of my good friends, Jay Scrub from Trinity High School here in Louisville, got drafted directly out of JUCO. And being involved at Delta, Jay approached us about doing his first annual back to school camp, which we held at the facility in West Louisville. I was able to be introduced to Coury Markham, who runs Easy Sports Group, represents Jay, and I really just put a bug in his ear at the time, like, "Hey, man, I really want to be an agent." I was still finishing up my undergrad at U of L, and he was just telling me, right now we might not have, the role that you would want, obviously long term, but if you can work towards that and show us your value, then we can, allow you to come on and give you an opportunity. So, long story short, I took my FIBA agent test a little over a year ago, or a little over a year from that time. so going on 4 years now or 5 years, and that is kind of how I was introduced to Easy. Once I passed my FIBA tests off my time taking the tests, I was able to start representing guys and really start to get my feet wet with the company.
Yeah, and it's funny to hear you say that because it makes me think back to when I was in college. You know, 'cause again, I played basketball, but I was like, if this basketball thing doesn't work out, I want to be an agent. You know, I want to do all of that. And then I got into college, and my college, one of the first classes they had me take was accounting, and then I had to take another accounting, and I had to take finance, and then it's like contract management and learning about torts and all of this stuff. And I took two classes of accounting, and I never made my balance sheet balance, and that was when I realized numbers wasn't really my thing. So I
Yeah,
said, okay, well, I'm in the business field. What else can I do now? So that's how
right.
I ended up with a marketing degree.
Shit, you can do a lot with that, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my passion really, and I didn't learn this until well after I had started college, but I like the creative side of it. I always wanted to have a Super Bowl commercial. So I was like, man, I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna start making slogans and logos and doing all that. And my school did a really good job in making marketing look like what I wanted to do. But it was about midway through my sophomore year that I realized I needed to be in advertising and communication, not
Right.
necessarily marketing. And at
Yeah.
that point in time, it was too late because I only had 2.5 years left on my scholarship. So I was like, all right, well, this is where we're going. We're gonna get into
Right.
sales.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
so
funny. It worked
yeah.
out.
It did, and ironically, it actually didn't because I'm in healthcare, so I do absolutely nothing with my degree.
Really. Sometimes
I
it happens like that.
Yeah, yeah. So I was working for you familiar with Humana. I was working for Humana for almost 10 years, and now I'm with another company in healthcare doing the same exact thing, and I think I'm going on year 7. So that degree is just
Nice.
collecting dust. If it makes you feel any better, I just got my master's, and probably going to
Really.
do nothing with that either. So
No, it happens. I got my master's last year too, and I'm like, I don't know. It was good for me to still get experience, I guess, networking and
yeah.
um, just going through that process. But yeah, I don't know what I'll use it for right now either.
Yeah, no, I love the networking side of it. I love talking to people. I'm very extroverted. And off topic, the only reason I really got my master's was because my wife came to me one day and told me that she decided she was going to go back to school and get her master's. And at that point in time, I said, well, you can't have something I can't have. So,
Yeah,
and not only that, but I'm going to make sure that it became a competition, right? So I said, I'm gonna make sure I get mine before you get yours. So I
yeah,
really pushed through the program to be able to graduate first too. So,
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah. So, but all righty. So, we'll hop back into. But so you get to watch athletes at a young age. You know, I follow you online. I've seen a lot of the kids that you're associated with in Louisville. I know you got some studs out there at Saint X and everything you get to kind of watch them grow into what might be something special. For young athletes who are all excited about NIL and what it could happen to them, but not really know where to start. What would you tell them should be some of the very first few steps for their NIL journey? And what do you think is one of the most common mistakes that generation is making in the very beginning that they should try to avoid?
Yeah, I think a lot of people really just get caught up in what others have going on, and they see other people, whether they're, teammates of theirs or people they play against, and they just feel like they should be in that position when, first of all, understanding that everyone's journey is different and not everyone is going to have the same path to success. And really what success is, I'm sure you would, vouch for this too, is really what you make the most of your situation and how you make the most of your opportunities. So I think a lot of people, especially at that young age, really just continuing to develop and get better is the number one thing I would preach. When I was a kid growing up, I would always catch myself at different AAU games and different tournaments, even in middle school and high school, just talking to parents all the time and just building a relationship with them, even if you're not talking about sports and what game you're watching, but just picking their brain on random stuff, I feel like can really go a long way. And um, when it comes to off the court and building their actual name, image, and likeness, I would say, the first mistake that I see is a lot of athletes really chase those big deals and, instead of starting locally, that's kind of the strategy that we like to use, starting locally. Um, I think really it hits different too when say you work with a local pizza company, and then 6 months later, Papa John's or Pizza Hut sees that you're working with Bear Nose in Louisville, so they're like, hey, we can do this on a lot bigger scale. Why don't we try something, on a regional market instead of just in the city of Louisville itself? So being able to start local, and even if you're not getting direct cash at first, starting with product deals and being able to work your way towards those cash deals eventually, build your portfolio. That's really big for guys starting out, especially at a young age when a lot of this is new. A lot of businesses don't want to really invest a lot of money into these high school athletes just because there's a lot of risk and liability that comes with that. But being able to stand out and building a portfolio for yourself that stands out compared to others will really go a long way.
Yeah, and I like to think that when I was in high school, I may have had one of the first ever high school NIL deals because for whatever, because in J Town, I
I got to hear it.
whenever myself and my teammates would go to the local Hardee's or Pizza Hut, we always got free food.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that is my high school NIL story. So
You
what
didn't have to do
age?
much in return, I guess.
No, all I had to do was put the ball in the basket on Friday nights and Tuesday nights. That was all they asked me to do.
That's it.
But Louisville Pizza actually did hang my jersey up in there for a little while too when I was in high school. So that was about as close
That's
as I ever
dope.
got besides my $74. So um, so when you're talking to these kids like the high school kids, at a younger age, because college is a totally different process. What age do you think is a reasonable time for a kid to maybe start looking at, is there some opportunity for me at a local level? Or is it more based on how they are, like what their stature is in the community and stuff like that?
I would say there's really never too young of an age to start when, especially the way things are going in today's day and age. Influencers on social media, I feel like, are younger than ever now, and even seeing some of the elementary and middle school kids being influenced by some of the high school athletes I work with. I think that you know just establishing yourself on the court or on the field, whatever your sport of play is, being able to establish yourself that way, and finding your niche off the court. A lot of guys I feel like are always posting their highlights on social media and posting basketball pictures, which is great. But a lot of companies, they want to see more than that because there's thousands of basketball players around the country doing the same thing, and seeing who you are off the court as people, what you like to do in your spare time, posting that sort of stuff, lifestyle of stuff that you do, going out in the community, little things like that go a long way. And I think there's really never too young of an age to start building that, especially like seeing some people. I remember, one of the guys I represent, Austin Sears at Montgomery County. I know his family had like a Instagram page of him and his brother when they were growing up called the Headband Bros, and the name kind of fell off, the Headband Bros, but to see what they were building from a portfolio standpoint, going back and looking on their Instagram that they have and seeing those memories, that's stuff that you can start building at a young age and continue to use that platform as a springboard later in life. So I think that that they did a great job of doing that, and that's just one way of starting young, putting yourself out there, posting highlights and what you like to do in your spare time.
Just facing today's athletes, what professional basketball looks like beyond the NBA, and the lessons young players need to learn if they want to maximize their both their athletic.
Never really hurts.
Yeah, and shout out to Montgomery County. Back when I might age myself, but back when I was in high school, they had one of the best women basketball players I ever saw back then was Beth Weiss. So shout out to Montgomery County. Uh, yeah. So now, what would be something that would tell me that, hey, I may have an athlete that I might need to try to find some kind of representation for them for as they're at a younger age.
I would say as you start to go through the process, especially in the high school years and leading up to that, um, most of the time you just know with the type of conversations that you're hearing and the type of opportunities that a lot of families are being approached with now. Um, it's a lot for these parents to handle when most of the time they've got multiple kids they're trying to take care of, and with this being a whole another beast coming along, it's important to have people that are professionals and do this for a living are able to really guide and protect and really bridge that gap between the business side and the family side.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I said, because again, it's a full-time job, and
Yeah.
especially you like we one word we've really hit on a lot has been relationships.
Yeah.
You get that advisor, they have those relationships. That helps open more doors. That also helps protect you. It's kind of like I would relate it to buying a house. You're not just gonna go in there and just start signing your life away. You're gonna make sure you got your realtor with you. Make sure that everything is above water as far as that contract and everything goes. Make sure that all the numbers match up. You have that title company and the closing company. It's not just going to be me and the person who lives in the house, right? So, yeah, very very
No,
similar
exactly.
concept. Yep.
You don't go to court without a lawyer.
Some people do.
Or some people do. You're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
They
yeah,
definitely
that's
shouldn't.
that's true.
That I'm gonna represent myself doesn't always work out for the best for
Doesn't
people.
always work. No.
Yeah. So all right. So for some student athletes, they get these NIL opportunities, and these are things that actually can provide truly life changing money and experiences for people at such a young age. So if you look at this beyond the financial impact, what are some of the most important life lessons that you're seeing athletes learn through the NIL process, whether they're good lessons or bad lessons?
Yeah, there's been a lot of both lessons, honestly. But I would say just the important, some of the ones that stick out to me are surrounding yourself by good people that really have your best interest at heart. I've seen it over the years of different people surrounding themselves with people in their family or, their inner circle where they think may, have their best interests, but at the end of the day, it's a sad reality. Some people are just leeches and will try to do whatever they can to take advantage of the athlete situation. So, also being careful of what sort of financial advisors and, um, who you take advice from on that side, because people are always in it for the wrong reasons, and being cautious for those that you're surrounding yourself with, I think, are some of the biggest lessons that kind of stick out to me throughout it. And really, just with how things are today in the business of college sports, some of these athletes are making more money now than they will for the rest of their life. And it's important for them to understand that as much as it is for you and I, because, if they can take, 30, 40%, 30 or 40% of their check and invest that, long term, they're going to thank themselves in the next 15, 20 years and beyond that. So trying to get guys to think long term, not just for what they have in their pockets right now, because you and I both know Uncle Sam's going to come and
He's coming.
hit them at the end of the year, and we want to make sure our guys are prepared for when that comes.
Yeah, and that was when all of this jumped off. That was really one fear that I had was if you don't have somebody in your corner that knows that, or somebody at your university being in your ear, because as a 19-year-old college kid walking around campus, the first of the month we got our scholarship checks that covered our room and board and our food. The last thing I was ever thinking about was my taxes, right?
Yeah.
So, nowadays these kids getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, some kids getting millions of dollars. That I'm hoping that, universities and colleges and everybody like that is putting these financial advisors in place for these kids, or they have, they have their compliance people that do all the stuff to make sure that you stay eligible. You need to make sure that these kids are responsible with the money, but also that you said Uncle Sam's coming, right? You got to make sure that you don't sit there and when you get done playing, now you all of a sudden you file taxes at your first job that you were making $1 million in college, but now you come into the real world and now you might be making $80,000. Life changes, and now you get hit with that tax bill for the last 4 years, and you're just like, well, I don't have that kind of money no more. Because again,
Right.
I'm old enough to remember the generation of you made it to the league. The first thing you did was buy all your friends' cars. So
Yeah.
I know plenty of athletes that have gone broke. I've seen it all, man, and it's crazy to see where the game has gotten now. And like I said, I just hope that like I said, that's why I like doing this to get that education piece. So I love to hear somebody in your position that's telling them, keep these things in mind. Don't just go out there and think about, trying to be flashy on campus for the girls, but thinking long term. Because like you said, that ball will stop bouncing at some point in time, and for a lot of people, it's a pay cut. There are very few $1 million or $200,000 jobs in the world that people can that everybody's just going to get. That's not a see something of a company. So
Right.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Definitely. We try to harp. I mean, I feel like a broken record saying it with a lot of my guys.
Yeah.
They understand.
Oh yeah. So, all right. So, to fully understand what NIL has evolved into, it's important to just kind of first understand where it started. So, when you look back at the landscape of before NIL of college sports and of youth, of high school sports and youth sports, what do you think student athletes misunderstood most about their ability to create value and just build themselves as a brand, just to help them leverage these opportunities that go beyond performance on and off the court?
And something that comes to my mind is just that this platform has really been there to a certain level for how you're able to market yourself, putting yourself out there in the community and just being a positive influence to those around you. The platform for that has always been open for athletes, and I think now that the NIL is a thing, everyone is doing whatever they can to build their own brand and build their own name, image, and likeness, which is great. Overall, from the beginning, I remember the first day NIL dropped, and I remember Barstool Sports was posting every single athlete they were putting in their Instagram bio, like Barstool athlete, and using a brand like that, a large company can really uplift somebody's career off the court or off the field moving forward. And not that we haven't seen a lot of big brands steer away from that, but I noticed that there's been a lot of athletes looking for more than just a product or uh, a cash compensation in return for their name, image, and likeness. So, as I mentioned earlier, seeing a lot of people early on build their name, image, and likeness up from the ground up and start small and build their way up. I think a lot of people are still, in college even shooting for the stars when they only have 4,000 or 5,000 followers, which is great. Even 10, 15,000 followers is a lot, but compared to some of these athletes like the Arch Mannings and the Cooper Flags when they're in school, there's really levels to it. And
Hmm.
for guys to put that into perspective, for if you're a company, if you're working with Nike, are you going to go after the star player at, no offense, but to like a Bellarmine or a smaller school like that, or are you going after the guy at Kentucky or Louisville?
Hmm. Very true. Yeah, like you said, there's levels to this, and people have to understand that. I was talking with a coach earlier, and he's was saying when he was going through the coaching process, his goal was always to be a D1 coach, but he wasn't able to start at that. You know Coach Steele. He
Yeah.
started off as the manager at Butler University. From there, he went on to coaching high school as an assistant. He was a video coordinator. He was a volunteer. He's been a grad assistant. There, like I said, you have to work your way through this. You can't just shoot for the stars out the gate. Especially, you said you got 4 or 5 thousand followers. I would love to have 4,000 followers. I'm somewhere
Yeah.
around. But for the sake of it, like you said, there's levels to this, and that's what they have to understand. So, uh, all right. So if you look back on just kind of the early days of NIL and kind of compare it to where it is now, what's one thing you think the industry got right, and what's one thing you think that they still need to improve on?
I think something that is trending in the right direction is how the revenue is now coming directly from the schools. I think that's a big plus uh, for how things have moved. Obviously, at first, all of that was coming directly from the third party collectives, and that was a nightmare. Um, and it's still I think it still needs improvement in certain areas. Honestly, like the NIL Go platform that all the athletes have to use if they're earning over $600 or more off the court or field. Going through that process over the past couple days really has kind of been a headache. So I think being able to have a better process, a little more thorough and easier for guys to submit their information when they have to report that sort of stuff, I think would be a big step in the right direction.
All right, so that's something that I didn't know. So can you tell me a little bit more about this? So based on how much money you make, you have to report through systems to who, or how does that go, or what is all, where is the math come up with the, I think it said it was $600. What has all of that?
Yeah, so the College Sports Commission and NIL Go or through NIL Go enforces the athletes around the country if you're making over $600 or more. So say, there's a mattress company in Louisville that wants to give me or you $1,000 to do a commercial. We would have to go on the NIL Go website through your login, and we would have to go through, put all the information of the deal, what it is that they're paying you for, what you're doing. And from there, we would have to wait on their approval before kind of going through with this deal. So all of this is required now from every school in the country at the, through the NCAA and at the Division I level.
Okay, so now again, educate me, educate everybody. As you're going through this, you said that's at the D1 level. If I get anything above a transaction above 600, I have to notate it in that, because I this makes me think back to just like eligibility requirements, right? You got GPAs, you got classes you got to take, you got all these requirements that you have to be deemed eligible. But if you take it back to the high school level, are there any restrictions or any guidance or checks and balances put in there for the high school athlete gaining any kind of NIL?
Yeah, so every state and every high school athletic association in that state has their own rules and bylaws with that. So with Kentucky, they're not able to use the school's name, image, or logo in any sort of marketing or NIL that they do for themselves. And, that's pretty much the biggest hurdle when it comes to guys doing NIL in Kentucky. And so you can't be paid directly from like a coach or coach's business. Stuff like that is still not allowed. But if it's coming from a third party business or from a local company that is willing to pay the athlete for their name, image, and likeness, and they're not using the school's logos or anything like that, then they're able to kind of go through with the deal. We always have our guys go through with their athletic directors and make sure that we're complying with certain deals.
Okay, so that's good to hear though, and I hope that the educational side of that is there for the athletic directors and that they take that serious as well. Because that's, again, you're dealing with the child's future. I know back when I was coming through, they had the clearinghouse and everything, and I remember my athletic director, Coach Edwards, bring me my packet that I had to fill out and do all of that stuff. So it's good to know that as this thing continues to grow, that they are putting in tools and the educational side of it, because that's important. And again, that's why I said I like this platform and this podcast and being able to talk to people like you, because again, I've got a ninth grader and an eighth grader, and if they're lucky, they'll be able to go through some kind of this process. It may not be a big one, but they may get a mattress deal like you mentioned for a couple $100, but I don't want to do anything at a younger age that could mess up their time down the road. So that's very very important for me to learn, but very good to also hear and get that information out to just the youth athletes and the parents, because the parents have a role in this as well.
Yes, sir.
All right. So one of the biggest changes NIL has created is that student athletes now represent more than just yourself or your team. When I was coming through, we always said, you play for the name on the front of your jersey, not just the name on the back of your jersey. Wanted to be a team player and everything. But now these athletes, they're also representing brands, businesses. They have business relationships and everything that has both short and long term benefits. So how has NIL changed the level of accountability, responsibility, and professionalism expected from today's athletes?
I think it really forces them to grow up quicker than before, just with everything that's being thrown on their plate. They're professionals now, they're businessmen and businesswomen with the way that they're being treated and having to go about their everyday routines. So I think that, yeah, I mean, people are really having to grow up quick, and with how things have moved quickly throughout this space over the past few years, I think there's been a lot of, forcing people to grow up, and even seeing some of our guys like high school and guys that are now in college that we've worked with over the past couple of years, seeing their growth and maturity just through this process and through the, through their experience of being in a light and being shined, at that level, I think can either break or make certain people.
Yeah, very true. And then that is a harsh reality that they have to face with, because one decision can can really cost you a lot. You know, you are on 24/7, and nowadays I'm glad they didn't have it, but everybody has cell phones, social media, anything that you do is can be online instantly, and once it's online it's there forever, and that can ruin a relationship with a brand that you have, that can cost you your scholarship and everything. So it's just they have to realize that, and not only them, but their family and the people that they allow to be around them, you know, that is, you are on 24/7. There's no off button. So
100%. Yeah, need you to preach that.
yeah, I try. uh, So NIL is one of the most talked about topics in sports right now, you know, and everyone seems to have an opinion on it. Good, bad, this, that. We should do this. We shouldn't do that. But it's given, you know, people a false sense of security, because a lot of people see these headlines and these big NIL deals and assume that it's the norm when it's really not. You mentioned, you know, you might get a $500 deal to do something for a mattress company. I know. I got a friend of mine who's no longer playing, but even after he was playing, he got, you mentioned Bear Nose, he got a deal with Bear Nose Pizza, just because of who he was around the city of Louisville. He was able to bring some notoriety to it, and you know, and again, I played for free. I got free pizza back then, but you know, now he's getting his face on commercials and everything in there. But from your perspective, what's something that people on the outside are getting completely wrong about NIL and the reality of how it works for today's student athletes?
Yeah, you've got all these big numbers being thrown out there, and yeah, there's definitely people getting paid absurd amount of money, but a lot of these schools that are paying certain guys, $4 or $5 million, they likely have somebody on their roster making $50,000 for that year. So, there's definitely the highs and lows of it. Yes, the NIL I think is a great opportunity, and I'm gonna be in support of the athletes for this decision that has been made over the past few years, but it can, sometimes lead to wrong decisions when, you know, given a certain amount of money like that. And there's people who spend it wisely, and there's also people that don't. So just having open mind with that, and knowing that, not everyone is being treated the same on
Yeah.
that side, I think is big.
Very true. You know, and I see it even in, you mentioned it on the team, but unfortunately, you know, you'll also see it. And again, I went to Butler University. Our budget is not what Louisville's or Kentucky's, or you know, but you also see it, men's and women's. There's discrepancies there. You also see it, football, even football, basketball, even basketball, volleyball, you know, soccer, like,
Hmm.
you know, there it's even within the differences in the sports, you see that as well. So, you know, no, very, very, very good information. So, all righty. Now, again, I'm a kid from Louisville. You're a kid from Louisville. You went to Louisville. But now we're going to talk about one thing that I'm sure you're going to get some flack for. You recently accepted a role as the assistant general manager of La Familia, of the TBT. So, for those who aren't really familiar with La Familia and the TBT, can you tell me a little bit about that and why, being a kid from Louisville, that might get you some flack around the city?
Yeah. La Familia is University of Kentucky's official alumni team that plays in the TBT, known as the basketball tournament, every July. So this is going on year three for La Familia. This year we're playing Louisville in a round robin series, best of three. So the first game is going to be in Lexington, July 18th. Game two will be in Louisville on July 20th, and then game three, if necessary, would be that Wednesday, I believe. So This is going into my second year with La Familia. Last year, I was director of operations, doing a lot of the logistical stuff behind the scenes, making sure everything was in order with the game weeks and practices, everything like that. And now I've taken on a bigger role as the assistant GM, helping Chwani Beckham, who I'm super grateful for giving me the opportunity last year, coming along and being a part of this great group and organization. But yeah, also with Chwani being from Louisville, kind of seeing
Ballard High
how
School, Kentucky,
yeah,
University of Kentucky. Shout out to 20. Yeah, I've known 20
yes
since he was
sir.
a little kid. Yeah,
Yeah, big shout out to Chwani. Seeing him from Louisville and going to Kentucky, that story was always cool. And when last year we started talking, was able to kind of help him construct the roster towards the end, and uh, hopefully brought some value to that side was really cool. And just seeing, the people that I know in the space, especially a lot of guys on the other side with the Ville throughout the year, and just trash talking friendly, of course, is
oh
always
yeah.
good. But it's been a great experience. I'm really looking forward to this year. We're excited.
Yeah, no, and I think it's really cool. They didn't have the TBT tournament, and I remember the first year when they came out, when they were just getting these random former college players that just have all this pride in their university, and they may have been out of the game for 2 or 3 years, but when you tell them we're going to do a tournament and the winner gets $1 million, people you just started seeing teams come out of the woodwork. Wichita State was pulling teams out, Dayton was pulling teams out, Syracuse was pulling teams out. So to just see something like that, like you said, in the summertime, during that time when we basketball players really don't have much sports to watch, because the sports that are going on in the summertime are not really what we're interested in. We don't like
Right.
the baseballs and everything. Women's basketball has kind of filled that void for us a little bit. So we're kind of getting women's basketball year round too. So that helps. But going back to the TBT, you're seeing these guys that have this pride. Their main highlights and their main playing days may be behind them, but to just give them this opportunity to step on the court again, show the pride in their university, and just show their skills. So how do you see this as an opportunity as they continue to build the brand of themselves in something like the TBT?
I think it's big. Even guys that, like, say your relationship ended a little rocky at the university you were at, this is an opportunity for you to go back and really kind of cure that relationship. It's an opportunity to go out and perform at a high level in front of the fans. Kentucky fans, I think, are the best in the country for what they bring, and for our guys to have that opportunity, I know they look forward to that more than any weekend in the year. So it's uh, you know, it's a great platform, and not only for the athlete, but the coaches, and for the TBT itself, seeing the growth that they've had over the past 10 years or so has been really cool, and being able to be a part of it is a blessing.
Yeah, no, it's become an amazing spectacle in a sporting event, because I remember when Overseas Elite would win it the first three or
Yeah.
so years, and now you're getting all these other schools, and you get a chance to see players that you remember from March. They can make tournament runs and everything, and now you're getting to see them again. And some of them have gone overseas to play, and they come back, and they get the chance to put those colors back on. And again, it gives them the opportunity to continue to grow their own personal brand, get their name out there, and just make a little bit of extra money. Even if you don't win the tournament, now you're back at the local. You said start at the local scene. You're back at the local scene now. You never
Right.
know who's going to pop up on a commercial, or who's going to do a signing somewhere, and everything like that. So it just gives the athletes that opportunity as well. So really, really excited and grateful that athletes are being given these opportunities. And I think
No doubt.
I think what you're doing with the TBT, even though I'm not a Louisville fan. I'm also not. Again, we talked right there, right over your shoulder. That's me. I'm a Carolina
Yes,
fan.
sir.
But again, to be able to see what you guys are doing, and everything for the athletes and the fans, I think it's a truly a great thing that you all are doing, and I hope it continues to grow, and just continue to be something special for everybody till we get more and more schools out there. And I would love to even see you get one of those teams that had a miracle run in March. Get a High Point or a UMBC or somebody like that to throw a team out there, and then for them to make a miracle. Some of those guys to come back, the George Mason kids from back in '05, one of them. But one
Oh
of them
yeah,
put a team out there, and then they make a run out there too. I think that'll be really cool to see as well.
I do too. Yeah, it's super cool for the fans. I think being able to go back and see some of their former players, former favorite players, is great as well.
Yeah, I know UK used to always do those barnstorming tours, so to get
Yeah.
to do that it's just it's really cool for the fans as well. So all righty. Like I said, I wanted to jump, just kind of pick your brain a little bit, learn a little bit more about the NIL side of it, the La Familia side, the TBT side of it. Let everybody learn a little bit about that. But I want to pick up the pace a little bit, do a couple little quick hitter games with you. The first one I have is called in the spirit of TV game shows. We're gonna call it Nil or No Deal. All right, so just like the TV show Deal or No Deal, I'm going to present you with an athlete scenario that's in this case, and then I give you the characteristics of the athlete, and it's up to you to decide if that person would be a good candidate for an NIL deal or not. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. So you got a high school sophomore that has 50,000 followers on social media, but averages 4 points a game. Deal or no deal?
I mean, it depends what they're doing off the court to get their 50,000 followers. If it's a true organic 50,000 followers and, say the kid's doing some basketball training, posting videos, and that's how he's able to build his platform, then I would say yes. But more than likely, yes, just based off of the following.
All right. All right, scenario two. We have a college athlete that only has 2,000 followers, but is active in the community, has a 3.8 GPA, and is a team captain of the local college team. Give him a deal, give him an NIL deal, or he gets no deal.
Yeah, he would get a deal for his involvement in the community and what he's doing on that side. That'll end up over outweighing everything else from his following.
All right. Scenario three. A good athlete with decent potential wants $50,000 NIL deal, but has never posted on social media.
No deal.
No deal. All righty. Scenario four. The player has elite talent, but a history of getting into arguments online.
No deal. Because yeah, no brand wants to have a company represent, or no company wants to have a athlete represent them, and online all they're seeing is him getting into arguments.
Yeah. All right. An athlete is offered a very large NIL package, but must transfer schools to accept it.
I mean, we see this all the time now.
No, I was going to say, would you give him the deal or no?
I mean, I think yes for how certain schools have pots of money just for these athletes and for what it is that they're going to be likely getting in return. Yes.
Yeah, and as a Carolina fan, I'm trying to figure out this transfer portal, but I keep looking at it every year, and it's like, where's all our money at? Like,
Yeah, I know.
like I know the kids we got last year were good, but we need a national title. We just got a new coach on both football and basketball sides, so something's got to start rolling in, man. Duke is doing a number on us, So
I think
all right,
so. Y'all got the last national championship though, for what that's worth, out of those
yeah.
two.
And it's something I've always looked at it and I've said, I want to say this back to the 60s. We have at least one national title in every decade.
Oh wow.
Yeah. We're in
So you
danger
got
right
time.
now. We are in
Yeah,
danger
you're
right
getting
now.
there. You're getting there. That's right.
Yeah. So, all right. Second game I want to play with you is called Advice in 10 Seconds. All right. So, rapid fire. I'm going to give you a situation and I would like you to give me the advice in a 10-second answer or less. All right. So, scenario one, you're talking to a parent, and a parent asks you, how early should my child start building their brand?
You can start building your brand as early as you want. I would say that the main focus needs to be on development and excelling in their craft on the court first, but as early as you want.
Yeah. All right. Scenario two, you're talking to an athlete, and he asks, should I transfer for more money?
I would ask the athlete what their situation is. Is money a end all, be all factor? Do they have a chance at making good money playing professionally? All that weighs into that factor.
All right. Scenario three, you're now talking to a coach, and the coach asks you, how do I help players navigate NIL?
I would say, coach, you need to take advantage of the situation with, your alumni and boosters, people around you, and really got to take advantage of it.
Last scenario, scenario four, you're talking to a freshman, your pick, high school or college. And he said, what's the biggest mistake that I can avoid right now?
Surrounding yourself with the wrong people and taking your focus off the main goal. Uh, your hard work's gonna get you everywhere. Don't let anybody tell you anything different.
All right. Sounds good. Awesome. So like I said, I wanted to just kind of pick it up, pick your brain a little bit. So I appreciate you taking the opportunity to do that.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
but like I told you, I work on this project. I get a chance to talk to people like you that just kind of help me learn a little bit about this, but also help educate the audience and that next generation of athletes and their parents. So, but I'm only able to do this because it's not an NIL deal, but because I have really great sponsors behind me, right? So, this
That's right.
episode of Beyond the Game, More Stories is brought to you by Confidential Confessions Counseling. Confidential Confessions Counseling is dedicated to providing a safe, supportive, and judgment free space for individuals who are navigating life's challenges. Whether you're dealing with stress, anxiety, personal struggles, relationship issues, or simply looking for guidance and clarity of their mission is to help people work through life's moments with compassion, understanding, and professional care. At Confidential Confessions Counseling, the focus is on helping you grow, heal, and move forward with confidence because sometimes the strongest step you can take is simply talking to someone who is there to listen. If you or someone you know could benefit from professional counseling services, you can learn more by visiting www.cccounsel.me. We thank Confidential Confessions Counseling for supporting the show and helping us continue sharing stories beyond the game. All right, Ethan. So again, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. So as we wrap up today's episode, I just want to take a moment again to say thank you for doing this. I know you're busy, but coming on here, being able to just share some of your openness and your honesty and your knowledge and your experience, I think is going to be something very beneficial to everybody who gets the chance to listen to this episode. I believe if as everybody has a story to tell, and if I can can be the bridge to connect that story to somebody who needs to hear it, that to me is makes all of this worth it. So before we close things out, I wanted to give you the opportunity to share with the audience anything that you have going on. Again, we talked about the TBT, but anything, whether it's upcoming games, your projects, your social media, anything else that you want to shout out, I want to give you the opportunity to just to say thank you for coming on, but the opportunity to do that. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, first, I really want to thank you again for the opportunity for using this platform and doing things in a positive light. I think for what you're providing, the media side of things doesn't get talked about enough, and I think your all's reach and the way you all are able to give exposure to athletes, people like myself, is huge. So I really appreciate you for that. In terms of just upcoming stuff that I have, the TBT is obviously huge. David Johnson's third annual Camp DJ at Trinity High School, July 25th. It'll be for grades third through eighth, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And camp is only $25 for the next 2 days now, and then after that it'll be $40. But it's one of the most affordable camps in the city, by a professional basketball player, and excited for that again. And just moving forward, headed into July AAU season with the live period, and going out to summer league for a few days, and then gearing up for TBT. So super pumped for that, and yeah, just really appreciate you allowing me to come on here and uh just keep doing what you're doing too, because I see your podcast is growing, and I love the people that you've had on and the content that you've been putting out.
Awesome, I appreciate it. Give everybody your social media again, really quick, please.
Yes, sir. My Instagram is ethan.c, and my Twitter is Ethan Coury, Coury.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so go out, go follow Ethan, man. I'm telling you, you're gonna be amazed at some of the things he's doing. It's just special, man. The relationships he's building, the things he's doing, the people he's helping, man. It's awesome to see, man. And see, just as another kid from Louisville, man, I appreciate seeing how you are helping contribute and just keep this game going and everything like that. So, but again, I appreciate you doing this. So as we kind of close here today, I want to thank everybody for listening, taking the time to watch, and just spend a little bit of your day with us, listening to us kind of share stories and just give some information, some education, and hopefully you all were able to learn something. But if you enjoyed today's episode, especially if you made it this far, please go give us a like and subscribe. It's how we're going to continue to grow this podcast. You know, we're everywhere you get content from. We're on Amazon, we're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music Podcast, you know, Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere they're delivering content. We're trying to get that to you. So give us a like and subscribe. Or if you just made it this far and you heard something that you think somebody needs to hear, we ask that you share this with them. All righty. We think if you know somebody who likes storytelling, again, share this with them, because we think anybody that can benefit from this, we want to make sure that we're able to get those messages out to them. For more information on Beyond the Game, more stories, you can visit us online. It's www.btgms.com for more content. All of our content's on there. You can go there for official merchandise. We do have a lot of stuff on there that can also help keep you going as well, to just kind of continue to learn. But again, I'm your host, Dwayne Lightfoot Jr. Ethan Coury, again, I appreciate you for coming on, taking the time to speak with us. And I love the message that you give, because again, these athletes are building a brand nowadays, and I think that's something that they learn. And that's I have these shirts made that says, I am more than an athlete. You are not just tied to your sport, how long you can put a ball in the basket. These kids, you're building a brand nowadays, and I think that's awesome to hear. So again, thank you for coming
Yes,
on,
sir.
sharing that message with me. But again, for everybody out there watching, please remember these lessons that sports are teaching us every day. We're learning a lot from it. These are things that are going to stay with us forever. So until the next time, we'll see you beyond the game.
Thanks, Dwayne.